I invite the Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness to lead the House in prayer or reflection.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. April is Earth Month, and I reflect on our connectedness to our planet and each other. I offer these words from Alana Sabot-Maswin, from the Abenaki Nation in Quebec, a lifelong champion of Indigenous issues through music and filmmaking, who is a companion of the Order of Canada and holds dozens of awards and honorary degrees for her achievements. These words were recorded in 1972. When the last tree is cut, the last fish is caught, and the last river is polluted, when to breathe the air is sickening, you will realize too late that wealth is not in bank accounts and that you can't eat money. Those who are rich and those who are poor, by bank balance standards, will achieve a final equality of poverty. The millionaire with his burden of bucks and nothing to buy will certainly feel more impoverished than any. He will certainly feel cheated, but he will not realize, even then, that he has cheated himself.
Good morning, everyone. Looks like people are awake, eyes are open. Maybe we should serve hot coffee today instead of water for everyone. But if you want to sleep through question period, you're most welcome. Introduction by members. Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And on this bright, sunny morning, it's my pleasure to welcome a number of guests today, more than a dozen, who represent the concrete industry of our province. These individuals are here on behalf of Concrete BC and include representatives from firms across the province, including the Okanagan, the Fraser Valley, Vancouver Island, and Greater Vancouver. They play an amazing role in building the infrastructure that supports both public and private development. In particular, among the delegation is Jason Saunderson, Executive Director of Concrete BC, who is well known to members on all sides of this House, and we're also joined by Martha Murray from the Cement Association of Canada. Would the House make all of them most welcome?
Minister of Post-Secondary Education.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In the gallery today, I'm proud to introduce the BC Federation of Students. They are here to meet their members of legislative assemblies on topics that are important to them and on top of their minds. The BCFS represents over 170,000 students across BC from 15 universities and colleges and college student unions. So sitting in the gallery, we have Michael Gold, Jill Adams, Cole Reynolds, Jesse Nicoy, Joel Giuliani, Emmanuel Agedboyeya, Samir Ismail, Cora Lynn Bell, Izzy Easton, Kate Love, Sanchit Quatra, and Wendy Redhead. Would the House please make them all feel very welcome?
Member for Richmond Queensborough.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce Alex Sagert, who's a lifelong Richmond resident. Alex is deeply engaged in the community. He's the riding president in Richmond-Steveston for the Conservative Party of British Columbia, as well as he's a board member of the Steveston Merchants Association, where he plays a key role in organizing seasonal events to bring the community together. Beyond his leadership in community initiatives, Alex is a passionate advocate for a fundamental shift in how we approach addiction treatment in British Columbia. Having personally experienced addiction during the toxic drug crisis, he is committed to ensuring that every city in the province has access to detox and regulated treatment facilities. His dedication to public service and his vision for a healthier, stronger community make him a valuable voice in the ongoing discussions on addiction recovery and support services. Please make Alex welcome.
Members' introduction should not be more than 30 minutes.
That's the current rule.
Yeah, that's the new rule. 30 seconds. Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Thank you. I won't take more than 30 minutes. Today in the gallery, we're joined by a delegation from Williams Lake First Nation, Chief Willie Sellers, Councillors Dancing Water Sandy and Shay Chelsea, as well as WLFN elders, youth and staff have joined us on the precinct for meetings with government ministers and to celebrate their Oscar-nominated documentary Sugarcane. Sugarcane is rightly the winner of many awards and a powerful and important documentary about the residential school on the Sugarcane Reserve near Williams Lake. We will, as members have been invited and know, be hosting a ceremony with Williams Lake First Nation in the Hall of Honor starting at noon today, and then a screening of the film in the Legislature this evening. I hope that we will see many members at those events, and I hold my hands up to Chief Sellers and the Nation for their work on this film and all the work that they do in their community. If the Chamber could join me in making them feel most welcome.
Member for Caribou-Chilcotin.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to join with the Minister in welcoming this delegation here today, of course, and apologies for duplicating some of the information. It will be an amazing event in the Hall of Honor today, of course, and the screening later on today of Sugarcane. But I do want to just take a moment to introduce the delegation that was to be here. I hope all of them have made the trip. Chief Willie Sellers, Councillor Dancing Water Sandy, Councillor Shay Chelsea, CAO Courtney Cook, Director of Legal and Corporate Services Kirk Dressler, Lloyd Gilbert, Cash Sellers, William Lulawa, Danica Murphy. Assistant to the Chief is Megan Allen, Gabriel Allen, Emma Allen, Hayden Lenz, who was here yesterday with us, and Naya Chutskov. So welcome to that incredible team. They really are an unbelievable team. Mr. Speaker, I hope you all get an opportunity to meet them. Thank you.
Member for Kelowna Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would echo the words of the Minister of Post-Secondary Education in welcoming the delegation from the BC Federation of Students, whom I look forward to meeting with later today. I'm reminded of my own first visit to this place 20 years ago, which was as part of a similar delegation. And as I look across the aisle, I see the Minister for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation and the Minister for Infrastructure, who were both involved in student leadership at the same time as I was. So I would say to that visiting delegation and to all taking part that among you is a future MLA. Thank you for stepping up and leading, and please continue doing so.
Member for Maple Ridge East.
Mr. Speaker, please join me in welcoming my two friends in the gallery, Jason Goshen and Anna King.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Each of us is fortunate to have teams supporting us in our constituencies while we're here in Victoria debating legislation late into the night. Today, it's my honor to introduce my amazing constituency team, Paige Calvert, Sophie Wallace, and Jatinder Sidhu. I hope you can all make them feel welcome.
Well, speaking of teams, on behalf of all of us, I want to thank all our staff for their wonderful support that we received last night till this morning. And we really appreciate the hard work they all did to keep us going. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Introduction of bills.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had such fun with carbon tax yesterday. I rise to move first reading of my private member's bill entitled Carbon Tax Industrial Repeal Amendment Act 2025.
Member, the question is, no, sorry, can I continue, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very straightforward bill, and after watching what we needed to go through to repeal the consumer carbon tax yesterday and not knowing what the political winds of change may or may not be in Ottawa, it seems fitting that we would take the steps necessary to get BC out of the business of the industrial carbon tax as well. Obviously, the federal backstop would still kick in, so industrial emitters would still be required to adhere to the same output-based pricing system that currently is in place throughout the rest of Canada, and which BC is already essentially synced to. I would also point out that it used to make sense for BC to control the $3+ billion worth of revenue instead of sending it to Ottawa to hope to get that money back. But as we clearly have discovered, there's $200 million or left of carbon tax collection. And it seems like in a time when government is trying to find efficiencies, running a whole department to manage one thing that could easily be managed by the federal government instead would make much more sense. Also, at a time when we have interprovincial trade barriers being the topic of the day, this would be one more step of aligning our industry with the rest of Canada in lockstep to make sure that there was consistency across Canada. Mr. Speaker, this again does not necessarily remove industrial emitters from the carbon tax within BC. It simply shifts the administration of it over to the federal government, and if the federal government makes any changes to that, BC would already be in sync. Whether that happened in July, we would not be forced to call this legislature back. This would already be in place, we would already be removed, and the federal rules would stay in place as they change or do not change moving forward. I do hope the House will see their way forward to bringing this bill forward for further debate and, most importantly, royal assent, as there is no retroactivity clause in this carbon tax bill.
Member, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the bill be put on orders of the day at the next sitting after today.
You have heard the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Madam Clerk.
Statements by members.
Member for Surrey South.
Speaker, we have a lot of hungry people all across the province of BC. So many British Columbians don't like what they are seeing. But what can they do? Good people want to help. They leave food for a donation where they shop. They donate money to local charities. However, especially these days, it doesn't seem like it's enough. In my riding, a group of men go out on a nearly daily basis to collect food from local grocery stores who have to move groceries that are a few days away from expiring. The guys, as they call themselves, do not ask for any money. They get a call that food is ready to go. They get in their trucks, pile in the food, and head to the spots in the area where they either load up hampers in the neighborhood or they have regulars who take enough to give to their networks who know the people and families who are in need. They do it all with a smile on their face. They don't take any credit. If you push them a bit, they'll tell you that the people are so wonderful and appreciative that they know they're doing something good, and they are. Speaking of unheralded generosity and charity, the Guru Nanak Food Bank that serves Delta and Surrey. Now it's Sikh Awareness Month, but the Guru Nanak Food Bank doesn't need any special occasion to help so many. They have been doing it for more than 4 years, and everyone is welcome. They operate in both Surrey and Delta, supplying anyone in need, regardless of ethnicity. They do blanket drives, help with some household supplies, as well as food. They also provide items to help international students. Their operating revenue is sourced from community support and donations. Their growing numbers are not in the government food bank numbers, as they provide to those in need outside of a society that receives government funding. Then there is the Guru Nanak Free Kitchen, formed in 2006 by Indi Panchi. It is a registered charity that is volunteer-led. Since its inception, has served over 1.2 million free meals to the residents of the East Side and across the Lower Mainland. 99% of the people they help are not Punjabi. Their motto, love all, feed all. Indeed. We thank all those volunteers.
Member for Surrey City Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On March 31st, Muslims across BC, including myself, celebrated Eid al-Fitr, which marks the completion of the sacred month of Ramadan, a month which taught us patience, discipline, humility, and empathy. And this celebration is a moment for Muslims to rejoice in their spiritual achievements. It's about our strength and resolve to live a life filled with gratitude and sincerity towards the Creator and the countless blessings that we have. Our faith, our health, our families, and our communities. Because there are too many people who do not have just that. There are those across the world who are the victims of war, suffering relentlessly, lacking the basic necessities of life.
Muslims in Gaza were fasting for the second year in a row, all while suffering immense loss and enduring profound pain. That, Honorable Speaker, is true faith. On Eid, I thought to myself, when you have lost your entire family and everything that you hold dear to you right in front of your eyes, what could you celebrate? But I realized that their resilience is much stronger, their resolve much greater than my own comprehension. And all I know is that the value of every human life is sacred, and we cannot truly understand this unless we recognize life's fragility, the importance of protecting it, and then acting to preserve it. Muslims give zakat, which is an obligatory charity for those in need, so that we can try to protect life and lift everyone up. Because we realize that our faith is not just individual, but collective. Our actions affect the well-being of others, and our success is intertwined with the success of our communities. So to my Muslim brothers and sisters, may this Eid bring you all the joy that comes from a heart that is content, a soul that is at peace, and a life that is dedicated to service. Eid Mubarak.
Member for Columbia River Revelstoke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 1978, the Kimberley Dynamiters won the ultimate prize in Canadian men's senior hockey, the Allen Cup, a trophy which has been competed for since 1909. In 78, the Dynamiters beat the Brantford Knights 4-1 in a best-of-7 series. The team played nearly 100 games that season. It was the second time Kimberley won the national prize since 1936 when they beat the Sudbury Falcons to take home the trophy. Kimberley was an attractive hockey town for these senior men's players. Many had just finished playing professional hockey, including Barry Cummins, now VP of the Kimberley Food Bank, who played for the California Golden Seals in the National Hockey League, and Aurel Baudin, also known around Kimberley as Frenchie, who played professionally for over a decade. It was the community opportunities which attracted these high-level talents to Kimberley. Most players worked in the mighty Sullivan Mine, which was the largest lead-zinc producer in the world for nearly 100 years. They were also granted the opportunity to advance their education through their work with Cominco. Players stayed from that 78 team and put down long-lasting roots in the community. If you go to the Kimberley Elks on any given Saturday afternoon during their weekly meat draw fundraiser, you'll find a table of these retired players reminiscing about the team and how much fun they had during that memorable season. Their lovely wives make corrections to the sometimes exaggerated stories and keep the boys humble at the same time. The players who remain in Kimberley from that 78 winning team are idolized and respected in the community as local heroes and are recognized everywhere they go. The Kimberley Dynamiters turned 100 last year. When you talk to the Allen Cup winning alumni, they sing praises of the glorious teams that came before them, always being humble. On July 12th at the South Okanagan Event Centre, all the boys will be in town for their official induction into the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. I will be there proudly joining the celebration alongside them, which also includes retired NHLers, Sean Horkoff and Dan Hanhus. Please join me in congratulating these local hockey heroes as they rightfully take their place permanently in BC's hockey history books.
Member for Burnaby South Metrotown.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to recognize April 2025 as Safe Digging Month in British Columbia. With spring round the corner, we are seeing a rise in construction and development, along with several groundbreaking projects across the province. While we welcome the warmer weather and the flurry of construction activities that comes along with it, it is important that we take our underground utilities into account and adhere to safe digging practices. Underground utilities provide services that play a crucial role in supporting the lives of people in British Columbia. These utilities include lines, cables for gas, electricity, telephone, internet, and TV, and pipelines for water and sewer. Their seamless functioning is integral to the public infrastructure that keeps our communities warm, lit, safe, and healthy. The smallest error can cause severe damage to those utilities and, more importantly, may pose significant risk to human life. And that's why we must practice utmost caution while digging up the land, whether it's for a large construction project or landscaping your backyard. Various events and campaigns have started in the province with the aim of advocating safe digging practices. It's our shared responsibility to ensure that the safety of the public and the environment by preventing accidents during groundbreaking activities. And workers and public should take the necessary steps to know where underground utilities are. And this including dialing BC One Call on your phone or clicking BC One Click on your device prior to digging. An action as simple as a click or call before starting your project can keep you, your coworkers, and your neighbors safe and prevent the possible interruption of services. And today, I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the British Columbia Common Ground Alliance. They are a multifaceted stakeholder group leading the development of the highest standards of safety and spreading awareness about the risk of ground disturbance. And together, we aim to foster open communication for occupational health and safety in our communities and create a culture of safety in all BC industries. And I request everyone to be safe and call BC One Call and use BC One Click. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Surrey North.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I greet you with the Sikh saying, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This means the Khalsa belongs to God and victory belongs to God. It is about faith, equality and community. Today and for the month of April, we celebrate Sikh Heritage Month. Sikhs have been part of British Columbia for over 100 years. They helped build our railways and industries. They believe in hard work, helping others, and standing for justice. Canada has the largest community in the world outside of India, and about 300,000 Sikhs call British Columbia home. Sikhs have a rich history in municipality from Epsom to Gordon. Every year of Vaisakhi parade in Vancouver and Surrey bring people together. The Vancouver parade happens in Punjabi Market. The Surrey Vaisakhi parade is the biggest outside of India. With over 500,000 people, there are floats, music, and free food for everyone. The refreshments are offered by local businesses and residents as an act of all we call seva, in Punjabi, selfless services. This year, the Vaisakhi event in Vancouver, Saturday, April 12th, and the Vaisakhi in Surrey parade is on Saturday, April 19th. Let's thank the Sikh community for all they have done for BC and Canada.
Member for Esquimalt Colwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to begin by acknowledging today that I'm coming to you from the traditional territories of the Songhees Esquimalt peoples, and I want to thank them for allowing me to work, play, and most importantly, raise my family on their lands. Today, I want to speak about the amazing work of the staff at Victoria General Hospital. It is an honor to have this hospital in the riding of Esquimalt Colwood. They do so much great work that I couldn't possibly put into 2 minutes everything they do. But I will speak about some of the important work that gets done at Victoria General Hospital for the island. I want to talk about the amazing staff at labor, delivery, and postpartum. On March 13th, little Jo decided she could no longer wait and wanted to embrace the world a little bit sooner than my family had expected. The staff were ready to assist me and my husband to ensure that this was done with the best care available. The staff were kind, caring, and went beyond to make sure she arrived safely into this world. Once she was here, they made sure that me and her were well taken care of. This is my second child that I've had the privilege of taking into the world of Victoria General Hospital in my riding. The staff that do this work do it 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They deliver the care that's best for the next generations of British Columbians and their parents on the island. I want to specifically give a shout out to Nurse Darlene. Yes, I know the irony that we have the same name, but the reason I want to bring her up is because not just during bringing little Joe into this world, but when I brought my first daughter, Evie, into this world, Nurse Darlene was there to ensure that as a new parent who was going through a rough time, and then this time with a totally different experience, that I knew everything I needed to know in regards to becoming a parent. Not just through my birthing process, but my labor delivery and on my way home. So I just want to give a shout out again to everyone at Victoria General and postpartum labor delivery. And thank you all for everything you do and showing up to work every day to make sure that the next little British Columbians are coming into this world in a safe and happy environment. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Oral questions by members.
Member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just 1 month ago, this government delivered a budget that is completely unreliable and completely unrealistic. $4 billion contingency fund, almost all gone. And now, $3 billion drop in revenue. And the servicing costs on this new debt over the next 3 years will cost taxpayers over $215 million. My question through you, Mr. Speaker, is a very simple one. What services is this Premier going to cut?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and through you to the member opposite, thank you for the question. This budget focused on a number of specific things. One, protecting core services for British Columbians. We know in these times of uncertainty and threat from the South, this is not the time to make big cuts for people. We also, if the member would let me finish, we're also deeply focused at looking at our own spending. And this is about ensuring that every dollar that British Columbians trust us with is well deployed. And it's normal to do a review and take a look and make sure that things are landing exactly as we wanted them to. We're doing that work now, Honourable Speaker. And it's very important also that we're focused on growing the economy. And that piece is absolutely key, Honourable Speaker. I have many more things to add to that. I suspect I might get the opportunity.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So here's the problem with the minister's answer. Is the cuts, they're already happening. We'll talk about that in a second. The minister gets up and talks about the fact they're going to review their own spending. That's great. She can start with the person next to her in the Premier's office who's seen his office increase double-fold with his own political staff, including a sweetheart severance package to his chief of staff of almost $300,000. Start with that, Minister. So the minister is talking about cuts. Let's talk about cuts. Let's talk about the cuts that they've made. Let's talk about the cut to the Surrey White Rock Learning Centre, a cost of $200,000 annually to keep that open, over 150 kids served by that, cut by this government. Cut by this government. Band programs for kids in Surrey, cut by this government. Buses for kids with disabilities, cut, it's right, true, cut by this minister. Mr. Speaker, my question is a simple one. What other cuts can this government expect from this minister, from this Premier, because of their incompetence?
Minister of Education.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I think it's really important to let the member know that in the face of the economic uncertainty and what's happening in the South, our government made really strong choices in this this year's budget to protect. $3 million in disabled kids' buses. Shame on you.
Let me know when you're finished. Minister will continue.
Thank you, Speaker. We made really strong choices to ensure that we're protecting core services like education. The Surrey School District is receiving over $1 billion in operating funding this year, which is a 62% increase from when we formed government. I want to let the member know that decisions about local education...
Members, come to order. Members, question was asked. Now let the minister answer.
Surrey School District received $641 million under the Leader of the Opposition. They now receive over $1 billion under our government. Decisions around local programming is made at the school district level. I know the member knows this. I know the member will be advocating in his community with his local school district where he should be. Thank you.
Member for Columbia River Revelstoke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, Angel Flight East Kootenay provided flights for over 1,000 critically ill patients from Cranbrook to Kelowna for treatment, primarily for cancer care. To continue to provide this critical service, they have requested a mere $250,000 from the province, with no response. The cost of servicing the debt after the cancellation of the carbon tax could pay for 210,000 Angel flights. Why is this government cutting Angel Flight East Kootenay?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. I think he very rightly points out that people living in rural communities depend on government and other partners to help reduce the barriers and costs that they face when accessing cancer care. Mr. Speaker, that's why we have invested millions of dollars into assisting people with their travel costs, and specifically on cancer care through programs like Angel Flight, through programs like taking care of the accommodation costs that people face. Mr. Speaker,
Members. Please.
Mr. Speaker, the member points out that Angel Flight undertakes incredibly important services, that they have had a funding agreement with the province in the past. And Mr. Speaker, I would ask the member and this House to wait just a little bit longer to learn what we're going to be doing with Angel Flight.
Member for Surrey Cloverdale. Member, you have supplemental?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but respectfully, that answer is completely unacceptable. This service is provided through volunteer pilots on their time off. This government gave $1.2 million to the Drug User Liberation Front, but can't find $250,000 to transport critically ill patients in the East Kootenay for life-saving treatment. This and Pelly Bellingham's increased salary could have paid for these Angel flights. My question again, Mr. Speaker, why is this government cutting Angel Flight East Kootenay?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This government isn't cutting Angel Flight East Kootenay. Thank you.
Leader of the third party.
Honourable Speaker, citizens should not be responsible for making sure regulators are following the rules. But that's what Indigenous and non-Indigenous groups were doing in court last week, arguing that the BC Energy Regulator broke its own rules to greenlight construction of the Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline. The PRGT pipeline goes through some of the most critical salmon habitat in our province. Impacts to salmon, ecosystem health, and communities were supposed to be assessed in a cumulative effects assessment. Yet, the BC Energy Regulator bypassed this legally required assessment of PRGT and allowed the rushed start of construction on a section of the pipeline. My question is for the Minister of Energy. Will he ensure the BC Energy Regulator follows its own rules and conducts a cumulative effects assessment of the PRGT project?
Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. The member will know that this matter, the issue of the substantial start of the project, is before the Environmental Assessment Office right now, and going through as he would expect, a thorough review. The BC Energy Regulator does an excellent job in regulating based on the very thorough laws in British Columbia, energy projects, and will continue to do so.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister noted, the project is waiting a substantial start decision after the 10-year environmental assessment expired last November. Besides being taken to court, PRGT has already been given a warning for environmental violations because pipeline workers failed to properly assess endangered species habitat before clearing land. It's clear this project is being rushed through, putting communities, water, endangered species, and ecosystems at risk. Local residents say their concerns have not been acknowledged, much less addressed by government or industry regulators. The decision to approve the PRGT pipeline is expected in the coming weeks. My question this time is for the Minister of Environment and Parks. Will she direct PRGT to complete a new environmental assessment that takes into account the true scale of harm to communities and the environment?
Minister.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. And we have an environmental assessment process that applies in this case. It's being thoroughly applied by the regulator. The reason you have such reviews and environmental assessments is to allow such independent review to take place, and that assessment is occurring. I understand the member may have strong views himself and maybe want to make representations in that process, and in some ways what he's doing now is a form of representation, I suppose. But, Honourable Speaker, the environmental assessment, the project on the issue that the member raises is before the Environmental Assessment Office, and they'll be making a decision in due course.
Member for Kelowna Mission.
Mr. Speaker, the only social development office in Kelowna was moved into the heart of the Rutland business community. Since then, small businesses have seen net profits go down 25% each year because their customers feel unsafe. When the small business community asked the ministry office to provide additional security 24/7, the ministry declined. When they asked the ministry to join them and the City of Kelowna in financially supporting their on-call neighbourhood patrol team, the minister declined. Government is about making choices. Why has this government prioritized funding the Drug User Liberation Front while leaving hard-hit small businesses paying out of pocket for neighbourhood security as they struggle to survive the consequences of failed NDP drug policies?
Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. I've said this many times in this House, and I believe it to be true. Every British Columbian should feel safe wherever they are in the province, including in Kelowna.
Members, you don't have to chime in every time, please, when somebody stands up. Please. Please.
You will know that we're strengthening policing, but also rebuilding the critical services that support policing all across the province. The opposition leader's old government cut funding for crime prevention. We have enhanced it. We've strengthened policing, and we will continue to do that.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Sunday, I was cleaning up garbage, crack pipes, and needles on the streets of Rutland with residents, and I can assure you that the minister's promise of people feeling safe rings hollow with what people are going through. Now, the Minister of State for Community Safety was in Kelowna last week visiting with stakeholders, and I'm sure he got an earful. Can the Minister of State please let us know what specific commitments and action items he committed to in order to address the consequences of this government's failed drug policy in my riding and in the community of Rutland in particular?
Minister of State for Public Safety.
I was waiting for the light to come on, and thank you for the question. I was in town the last week, met your city representative, your mayor, the BIA's Resident Association, Party SOS team, and I listened to very carefully what are some of the initiatives that can bring balance back to the community. And the conversation is ongoing, including a few items, and I'll be more than happy to discuss. It's a little too long to go for it now, but we are going to work together to make sure people feel safer in your neighborhood. That you have my word on it. Thank you.
Member for Kamloops North Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government used to fund rapid attack crews for wildfire response in Clearwater. Sadly, this government dropped the rapid attack crew in Clearwater a couple of years back. The District of Clearwater has now been forced to use their own municipal funds to set up and pay for a rapid attack crew to protect their community this summer. Why is the Premier forcing communities to protect its citizens from a wildfire because this government won't? And how many other communities will now have to fund their own wildfire response teams?
Minister of Forest.
Thanks very much. Mr. Speaker, I was a little eager to get up because I was in Clearwater a couple of weeks ago. I had an opportunity to be able to meet with the mayor. I spent quite a bit of time.
You said no to the rapid attack. Please visit.
Keep wasting your time. Mr. Speaker, I had an opportunity to be in Clearwater. I had a chance to be able to meet with the mayor and council, talk about the challenges in their community, but also the opportunities that are before us. First of all, the BC Wildfire Service is world class, absolute world class. And for the members across the way to think that the BC Wildfire Service would abandon communities like Clearwater is absolutely shameful. If there are fires in communities, the BC Wildfire Service will be ready to respond, whether it's in Clearwater, Prince George, anywhere. That's our commitment to British Columbians. That's our commitment to the people of Clearwater.
Member supplemental.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. While the minister is talking about his listening and learning tour, he did not support the rapid attack crew in Clearwater. He did not support funding for that critically needed service. So the minister is not being truthful when he says that there's having the necessary resources needed for these communities.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to sit down with the member and explain how wrong he is. These are decisions made by the BC Wildfire Service, and I would add, and I had this conversation with the mayor, there are a number of reasons where we deploy resources and a number of situations in which we have conversations with local government leaders. I welcome the decision by the mayor and council in Clearwater to be able to join us in developing their own resources that we would help fund in the case of upcoming wildfire seasons. But for the member across the way to somehow insinuate that we are not providing supports to communities, that we would somehow not support a community like Clearwater if a wildfire occurred is absolutely wrong and really unfortunate. The BC Wildfire Service is world class. Just ask the people of California. When they needed help, the BC Wildfire Service stepped up and headed down. Over 40 people, incident management teams, wildfire attack crews. We will support communities like Clearwater. We'll support communities all across the province. It's why we had a record year with people wanting to join the BC Wildfire Service. Boot camps are starting next week. We're ensuring that we're ready to go for the 2025 wildfire season.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Premier and the Finance Minister have thrown BC into a fiscal black hole. This government will be forced to cut and underfund services in order to keep within their record-setting $11 billion deficit. The government already needs to cut $1.8 billion due to the consumer carbon tax. Why don't they remove the $200 million associated with the industrial carbon tax as well?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you, through you, to the member opposite for the question. We made a commitment during the election that when the federal government stepped back on their carbon pricing, we would do the same thing. And that is what we did yesterday, Honourable Speaker. But we will ensure that large emitters continue to pay their fair share.
Member for West Kelowna Peachland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prince George Regional Highway Rescue Society is a volunteer team responding to Highway 16 and Highway 97 accidents. They remain chronically underfunded, begging for enough to continue to serve their community. They often ask for $100,000 and only get $40,000. This government found $16 million to push illicit drugs on BC residents. Why can't they support the hardworking people of the North who are doing everything they can to keep their communities safe?
Minister of Culture and Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know, our community charities do incredible work, and that's why I'm proud our gaming grants continue to provide them with resources of over $140 million. We increased the funding to allow for capital funding for community nonprofits, like the member mentions, by bringing $5 million more into the system to support them with their equipment, with their life-saving necessities in many cases, to do upgrades and to support their work. So happy to hear more from the member, but I would encourage any member, if they have questions about gaming grants and how they might have affected different nonprofits in their communities, to either reach out to the Community Gaming Grants Program themselves. They're a wealth of information. They have really good information about the application process and how to ensure that community charities get the best for their neighborhoods. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Fraser-Nicola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In many of our small rural communities, infrastructure is a huge concern. Lillooet, a small community of 2,000 citizens in my riding, requires about $100 million in upgraded infrastructure to survive. Other small communities around the province need even more. Why does this government continue with its anti-resource development agenda, knowing it's starving rural communities of the funds and jobs they need to survive?
Minister of Energy.
Honourable Speaker, recently in response to American actions against Canada, we highlighted 18 projects across BC. The official opposition is against 12 of them. Against 12 of them. 18 projects creating thousands of jobs in every part of BC, and they were against them. They talk a good game. When it comes to real projects in real communities, they're against them.
Member for West Vancouver Capilano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to clarify a statement made earlier regarding Surrey's school district budget, that it was $640 million and is now $1 billion. But that's because there are more students, along with inflation and salary increases and so on, not because there's more dollars per student or more money for programs. Just to clarify. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, the BC NDP committed to remove portables from Surrey. I believe it was by 2020. 8 years later, there are more portables than ever, and the costs of the portables and the moving of the portables and the upkeep of the portables has cost Surrey School District directly, like many other school districts, millions of dollars, millions that should have been spent on student learning. Mr. Speaker, how many school districts, like Surrey, will have to continue to cut vital programs like learning centres for our students because of government cuts?
Minister of Education.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and the member just simply couldn't be more wrong. The very first thing our government did when we formed in 2017 was invest $1 billion extra into the education system, which was critically underfunded by those. The Leader of the Opposition and his government closed 256 schools. They sold 21 properties in Surrey that could have been used for schools, could have been used to eliminate portables. They fought teachers all the way to the Supreme Court, costing the system millions of dollars and not focusing on
Members. Shh. Members.
The leader of the opposition in his government didn't focus on students. They didn't focus on employees in the school district. They didn't focus on the core needs of education. Our government is continuing to invest in education year after year after year. In light of Trump tariffs and a desperate economic time that we are facing, our government protected education. We protected core funding, and we're going to continue to do that.
House Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AMHA, the Aboriginal Management Housing Association, desperately needs funds to renovate a number of vacant units that could house low-income Indigenous people. With just $1 million that they've been asking for to keep pace with the dire affordability crisis that we are in, countless families could be supported. And we all know that Indigenous people that are unhoused and left to fend for themselves in these risky situations, overcrowded housing, they become homeless. We know that where the statistics take us from there. Why is this government cutting supports for our most vulnerable people in a time when what we need to do is wrap around support and find the money and find the housing and support the important work of the Aboriginal Management Housing Association to do the work that they need to do?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. The member surely knows that we have made the largest investment in the history of this province for housing. The largest investment in the history of this province for Indigenous housing, Honourable Speaker. We're the only province in the entire country that is investing directly into Indigenous housing, both on and off reserve, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, that only started when we formed government. This was not something that happened in British Columbia prior to us coming into government. We continue to support AMA with historic levels of dollars. In fact, just last year, we provided them dollars to do the retrofitting, to fix up units that needed to be repaired so we can get more people in, Honourable Speaker. Every month, we're seeing new Indigenous housing units opening up. In fact, in the member's community, the member will know. If not, I'm happy to share the information with the member. We're opening up housing on reserve for Indigenous communities. Sorry?
Members, just wait for your supplemental, please.
Perhaps, Honourable Speaker, the member and I can sit down and I can share with the member the investments we're making, where those units are. In fact, we're being lauded across the country, and other provinces are being lobbied to, in fact, take the steps we're taking to continue to support Indigenous housing. Happy to sit down with the member to show the member where the investments are going and how we're supporting communities.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What we've heard here today is clearly a government that has absolutely no plan on a budget document that is less than a month old. You know, the budget did not contain election promises like the senior bus passes, the grocery rebate at $1,000 a household, the K-3 teaching assistants. We heard the Education Minister talking about that. Well, the teachers' union said, well, at best, it meets contractual obligations in the budget this year. No new spending for education in this year's budget. Instead, we have a reluctance to fund things like Angel Flight from this government, RAP attack crews into small communities that are surrounded by forests with wildfire threats and a long distance away from the hubs of the BC Wildfire Service. Road rescue, again, doing critical work, not being properly funded. Small municipalities, not seeing any infrastructure help from this government. School programs being cut under the watch of this government. And what does this government do? They cut $1.8 billion of revenue out of the, well, actually $2.8 billion out of their budget last night in revenue, and refuse to tell the public in the middle of budget estimates what substantive cuts will or will not be happening in their budget. Well, they did tell us one thing will be cut. Low-income households can expect to lose their climate action tax credit in addition to the grocery rebate this government won't deliver on. They have no problem cutting programs, it seems, when it impacts low-income households, 65% of BC households, by the way, but they won't tell us what they're going to cut with the other $1.8 billion. So again, to the Premier and the government, when will this government provide a detailed costing of what cuts we can expect and where of the $1.8 billion of missing revenue that they created with their bill last night?
Minister.
Honourable Speaker, what we've witnessed this morning really was a phenomenal display of hypocrisy. This leader of the opposition was part of a government that cut programs and services to people in all of the areas you identified this morning. All of them. All of these areas. Every single one of them. Every single one of them, Honourable Speaker. Every single one of them. Every one.
Members, come to order. Members, no argument with the chair. Please.
Honourable Speaker, we are facing unprecedented times. We were bringing out this budget at the same time that we were experiencing threats from the South that are unprecedented, Honourable Speaker. The budget literally came out the same day as the tariffs came out.
Members.
Honourable Speaker, this is a very important moment in time where we are absolutely shoring up protections for people. We are protecting core services. We are...
Minister,
we are not...
I don't think the opposition...
Talk to the guy beside you. Talk to the guy beside you.
Minister, please conclude.
Mr. Speaker, we are protecting services for people while we're doing core reviews to ensure that every dollar is landing where it should. And Mr. Speaker, we've created a $4 billion contingency fund so that we can respond to the initial impact of tariffs, Honourable Speaker. We are standing up for British Columbians, standing against what's happening down south, and we are protecting people every step of the way.
The bell ends the question period. Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to make an introduction.
Is leave granted? Please proceed.
Thank you so much to the House. I saw him enter and then exit the chambers again. I want to welcome back to the Legislature Justin McElroy, who just came back from his one-year trip all the way around the world, 52 countries in 52 weeks. I know that the member for Kelowna Mission referred to our shared experience in student politics along with the Minister of Indigenous Relations Reconciliation. Well, Justin McElroy of the CBC News was there to cover all of us as editor of the UBC at the time. And so it's a little bit of a reunion right now, and the House please join me in welcoming Justin back to the Legislature.
Madam Clerk.
Orders of the day.
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In this chamber, I call the estimates for the Ministry of Infrastructure to be followed by the estimates for the Ministry of Health.
Committee Chair.
I call Committee of Supply, Section B to order and recognize the Minister.
Thank you, and good morning, Chair. It feels like just this morning that I last saw all of you here. I move vote 37, be it resolved that a sum not exceeding $55,332,000 be granted to His Majesty to defray the expenses of the Ministry of Infrastructure Ministry operations to the 31st of March 2026.
Recognizing the member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to thank my colleagues for yesterday for kind of helping me limp along as I started to fade into the wee hours of the night, and to thank everybody's collective work on that. I would, although I have 11 more questions, I'd like to turn the floor over to two members to ask some follow-up questions from yesterday. First, I will send the floor over to the member from Surrey Cloverdale.
Recognizing the member from Surrey Cloverdale.
Good morning. Thanks to all the ministry staff for your hard work. Great to be back after such a short time and see so many friendly faces again. I'd like to ask a couple of questions about schools, if I can. It's well known that Surrey is behind in school infrastructure. That's something that was just discussed quite passionately, I think, in question period. The previous year, SD 36 had requested a little more than $5 billion in school infrastructure. We know that we're behind substantially in Surrey with more than 300 portables. You know, I've spoken to this previously in our throne speeches and in our budget responses that really we need to have a transformation in the way that we're dealing with accommodating so many students. Surrey is soon to be the largest community in British Columbia. We're only 50,000 people behind Vancouver. We're growing by leaps and bounds with, I think it's a classroom full of kids born every week in Surrey. So, you know, adding 1 or 2 schools a year isn't going to catch up. We're in a situation where just announcing new schools isn't going to catch up. So through the chair to the minister, you know, can she please speak a little bit to how the government understands the nature of the shortfall? And if they have a plan to catch up on this shortfall, particularly in light of the exponential growth that's expected in Cloverdale and other communities that are in Surrey along the SkyTrain line.
Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair, and to the member. I'll give a first response if I don't quite hit all of the questions, because I've now forgotten part of the questions. I'll allow the member to provide follow-up questions as well. So the member's absolutely right that Surrey has been growing in population at an enormous pace. Surrey's population, student population, has grown by 11,500 students since 2017. And of those, about 7,600 were in the last 5 years alone. And so it has been drastically accelerating. We are seeing, however, signs that population growth, student population growth in Surrey is moderating. So for instance, in the 2022 to 23 school year, we saw an enrollment growth of just under 2,500. In 23-24, we saw that jump to an additional 3,350 students around there. But then in 24-25 school year, enrollment growth dropped the enrollment growth was just under 1,500, which is a drop of more than half from the year before. So we are seeing student enrollment growth start to level out, and that's good news. It allows for the school district to work with the province on catching up on some of those infrastructure deficits. We currently, in the Surrey School District, have completed 31 projects in the time of our government alone. An additional 10 projects are under construction, 6 additional projects under design development, and 3 more projects after that in business case development. And so that is an additional 19 projects underway with 31 complete, and there is more to do.
Member for Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you, and I thank the Minister for that and the staff for that information. So, that's a respectable number of projects completed, but we still know that it isn't enough, particularly because many of the projects include additions where that doesn't increase things like labs, gym spaces, libraries, and other kinds of things that make that kind of holistic education picture for kids. So I would encourage the Minister, I've actually found it quite encouraging to see that these projects are moved to an infrastructure ministry to try and hammer through, hopefully, some good stuff for Surrey and Surrey Cloverdale. I would hope that this would also signal a shift in looking at a way of transforming how we respond to the crisis that we have. Maybe looking for other models of schools, other types of buildings that could be used, commercial buildings, whatever it takes to make sure that kids aren't just getting 1 day, 1 hour of gym a week because the school is so overcrowded. I'm going to move away from schools to talk about the Cloverdale Hospital and Cancer Center. This is something that we actually heard a lot about prior to the groundbreaking. And I've probably rattled on about this a few times, how the project was already $1 billion over budget and years behind schedule before breaking ground. There was frequent media updates, press conferences, even a photo op with equipment trucked in just for the photo op and then trucked away. But now we haven't heard much of an update. One of the things that I have heard directly from boots on the ground is that the project has struck a saltwater aquifer and that there are complications with this project. So my question through you, Chair, to the Minister is, can you please explain to the people of Surrey what type of challenges that this project has encountered as a result of building on a saltwater aquifer? Are there going to be cost implications? Are there design changes? And will there be any delays as a result of this situation? And I'm really hoping that the government will at this point provide some transparency into the situation, because like I said, we were getting really frequent announcements, and now that there seems to be a challenge here with our community's new hospital, we haven't heard a lot. So please provide an update on that.
Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you to the member for the question. The project did run into some geotechnical issues very early on. As soon as they went into the ground, they realized that geotechnical conditions were not as they had originally anticipated, far more clay and certainly water table issues. The contract is being delivered by Ellis Dawn under a design-build contract, and so when the member asked whether or not there were design changes under a design-build contract, the contractor will constantly be working with the owner's representative. In this case, it would be Fraser Health, on designing and constructing basically simultaneously, and so so there will be design changes to accommodate the risks and challenges that they face, particularly in this case, in a geotechnical situation. Over several months, Ellis Dawn worked with the Fraser Health Authority very, very closely to tackle this problem. They brought in engineers from not only across Canada, but from other parts of the world as well, because it was an extremely, extremely challenging geotechnical site condition. Through their collaborative work, they were able to come up with a very innovative engineering design solution, which has been implemented. They're using a D-wall, which basically provides a concrete barrier separation around the entire site of the project to isolate the project from the soil conditions outside of the project. That work is complete now, and they are now, and they've completed the bulk excavation. If my memory serves me correctly, they've excavated about 250,000 cubic meters of earth so far, and have poured approximately 50,000 cubic meters of concrete. So the concrete pours are occurring. The 3 tower cranes are installed, and substructure completion is completing shortly as well. In terms of the impact of that particular geotechnical situation on schedule and budget, we are not currently anticipating any impacts on the overall schedule. Any cost implications would be managed within the existing approved budget envelope. On site, they are operating they're running a 24/7 operation now. It is quite impressive. About 350 construction staff are on site daily. At the peak of construction, we're anticipating about 1,500 construction workers will be on site every single day. Their run rate right now, so the amount of work being done right now, is about $1 million a day, and that will accelerate with time. I would actually love to offer the member and other members of the opposition in Surrey a tour of the site. So if the member is interested in that, we would be happy to facilitate and arrange that, so you can hear from our general contractor and from Fraser Health's project team, which work very collaboratively on site. I think you'll be pleased by the progress.
Member for... Through the chair. Member for Surrey Cloverdale.
Yes, thanks for that. So just a couple follow-ups here within one question, and I would love to take a tour. I think it will be very interesting, particularly given the scope of the challenges with the aquifer that was there. I'm interested to see how that was overcome. The questions really are, so the increased cost to having to put this concrete barrier around the entire site. It's going to be expensive because concrete's expensive. There's a shortage. And those costs are being managed within the parcel of the project. So what can the public expect in terms of what is being altered then within the project to accommodate for these costs? And furthermore, this sounds really interesting because it is sort of innovative. And I'm just wondering then, why is it that it was kept kind of away from the public? Why haven't there been any updates? If Fraser Health was doing this incredible work of working with international teams to overcome what would be an engineering challenge, probably not commonly faced here in BC, why would the government hide this?
Minister.
Thank you. So the contract is being built under a design-build contract. It's a fixed-price contract. Fixed-price contracts are desirable for project owners, largely because they require that the builder actually take on the risk for a lot of the unknowns, including a large part of the site condition unknowns. That being said, if the general contractor determines that a claim needs to be made, that would be assessed through their partnership with Fraser Health. Change order claims are very common in construction projects. They are usually assessed against the contract, whatever it might actually be above and beyond what they had originally agreed to as absorbing the risk. Then that work will be, that assessment will be done with Fraser Health, and it would be paid for out of contingencies in that case. And so we don't anticipate any other scope changes. I mean, the fixed price contract is the fixed price contract. To the member's comment that this is very interesting and maybe we should talk about it more, I totally agree. I completely agree. We just released a video actually highlighting a recent tour with a little bit of this information, but not a lot of this information on my social media, I think this morning. But I welcome the member of the opposition's suggestions and feedback on how we get more of this information out. I think largely government has been really focused on just doing the project and delivering it. Maybe we haven't been talking about it quite as much. Looking forward to arranging the tour for the member and her colleagues. We're also happy to not make this just a one-time thing. Perhaps as the project progresses, we can continue to bring and offer members site tours. It is an exciting project, and we hope that the community, the entire community and the entire House will be able to be proud of it because it is being supported by taxpayers across the province.
Member for Langley, Walnut Grove.
Thank you. I'd like to turn the floor over to the member from North Island for a follow-up question from yesterday.
Recognizing the member from North Island.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Through the Chair, Minister of Infrastructure. So during the campaign, there was a promise made to rebuild Cedar School. It's a 63-year-old school, from kindergarten to grade 5. The kitchen is a converted change room. And compared to other schools in the province, it's rated very poor. So from a rating of 0.61 to 1, it's got a rating of 0.68, which is kind of one of the worst in the province. The other thing about this school is it's got a high Indigenous population, and the counseling service actually takes place in a converted change room. There's an opportunity here in the spirit of inclusion and reconciliation to create a space that honors and reflects cultures and ways of learning for our Indigenous peoples. So this is going to be a twofold question because the minister mentioned that, and we did have a fire, very unfortunate fire at Carey High School. But I'm, again, new to this, and I was wondering, first of all, is a fire covered by insurance? And if it's covered by insurance, then the costs would be taken care of, I imagine, by the insurance company. So can we expect the minister to reconsider the decision here? Because it is rated as one of the poorest schools in the province, and it does serve the Indigenous population. Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank the member for her passion and advocacy for the Cedar Hill Elementary. I really benefited from hearing from the member just the layers and the colors of how important the Cedar Hill Elementary School project is to her community, Indigenous people, and the surrounding areas. We do agree that it is important, which is why the Premier made the campaign commitment for Cedar Hill Elementary School. We do look forward to moving forward on our campaign commitments, all of our campaign commitments within the 4-year mandate. Since the campaign commitment was made, the fire at Carey High occurred. The fire at Carey High occurred since the campaign commitment was made. And given the impact to an existing school, it was necessary to prioritize Carey High in terms of the capital projects that the school district needed to undertake. In terms of the member's question around insurance, schools are not eligible for private insurance. We, as government, have a self-insurance model. We take on risk through a self-insurance model through a risk management branch of Ministry of Finance. And I know that the member is new to the House. It sounds like she might be having difficulty hearing me. As a tip, there's actually a hearing aid device within your desk, every desk, that can be plugged into the audio jack at the front of the table, and it actually connects every member directly to the audio system in case that helps in the future. I'll repeat myself for the member's benefit now. Schools are not eligible for the private insurance market, and so they are self-insured through a self-insurance risk model. It effectively means that for certain types of projects, of which this type of project, the Carey High fire renovation replacement, they'll have to go through a business case development for the project to scope it out, but it does require funding through the Ministry of Infrastructure to occur.
Member for North Island.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. Just a question for my own sake, in terms of insurance model, because I need to understand, there is a pool of monies, and so again, twofold question here. Where, with Cedar School rating as 0.68 and knowing, that we service a large population of First Nations at risk, how do you rate or how do you prioritize schools in terms of, which, can we expect this to happen in the near future? And second, I still don't quite understand the insurance model. So for example, if a hospital is built, which is, we're looking at billions of dollars, and fires do happen, I'm assuming that the government, being fiscally responsible, would have some sort of insurance. And I know you're saying it's not a private insurance, but I'm not quite sure how that works. If you can explain it to me a little bit better. So twofold question is, where are we in terms of, on the list for Cedar School? And can we expect something in the near future? And second is, I just need a bit more understanding of your insurance model.
Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair. I want to apologize to the member and to the community. I refer to Cedar Elementary as Cedar Hill Elementary, which is incorrect. It's just slipped out. Many schools lodged in my brain here. The self-insurance model. I'm going to start with the members for the other question. So every school district submits a 5-year capital priorities plan, and that is updated annually. Cedar Elementary remains at the top of the school district's priority list of priorities, and we will continue to work with the school district on delivering their priorities over time. The next opportunity for us to review those priorities for the next budget will be as part of Budget 2026 to 27. As the member will know, the 3-year fiscal plan is updated annually. And so Cedar Elementary was not included in the current fiscal plan. However, that does not preclude them from being included in future fiscal plans. Instead, in this current fiscal plan, we prioritized the Kerry High. In terms of the self-insurance model, in general, a self-insurance model means that government takes responsibility to cover costs of all damages, and any of these major projects, if there are multiple damages across the province, government also takes responsibility for prioritizing those damages across the provincial portfolio. For more details on how the self-insurance model works, I will have to refer the member to the Ministry of Finance estimates. It is actually a Ministry of Finance policy program that the Ministry of Infrastructure is obliged to be a part of. But in terms of, I mean, the member had mentioned hospitals and what happens if government builds a new hospital. They're very expensive. The Surrey Hospital and Cancer Centre is $2.88 billion. And what happens if there's a fire there? It is worth noting that all new hospital projects are actually built to a post-disaster standard. And so they will be among the most, if not the most resilient buildings in a community during, if a disaster occurs. And that's intentional because hospitals need to remain standing, and they are able to serve as those basically community lifelines. So their standard of build is very high, which is also part of the reason why it costs a lot to build them.
Member for Langley, Walnut Grove.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To respect the time of the House, I would like to acknowledge, I'm just going to ask one last question, and anything else that I have, I'll submit in questions to the Minister. So just one final follow-up to the same line of questions regarding the Kerry High and Cedar Elementary. Kerry High fire was a portion of the school. It was the gymnasium, is my understanding. And we had an announcement a few weeks ago prior to the budget release that Hazel Tremblath Elementary School in Coquitlam, which was a total write-off, was not initially in the budget, but was found to have been funded at the last minute. I'm wondering if the Minister can speak to why a renovation to a portion of a school couldn't be funded under that same kind of requirements as Hazel Tremblath, instead of at the expense of a direly needed elementary school within Campbell River. So just knowing that we had funds to replace a full school, why a gymnasium couldn't be replaced under the same parameters instead of lowering the priority of a desperately needed elementary school.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to correct for the record, all 3 schools that were lost, damaged due to fire, Hazel Tremblath, Amy Woodland, and Kerry Secondary School, were in the budget. During the process of releasing a budget, there is a rather lengthy process. The budget is tabled in the House. There is a lockup where detailed questions are answered by staff on the same day. And then over the next several days and even weeks, more information about various aspects of the budget are released. The news reports regarding the lack of funding for Hazel Trembath School were, I believe, based in as a result, or came about as a result of a deficit of information at that time, because in the normal course of releasing budget information, we were not actually scheduled to release information about the details of what schools were funded until a bit later. But given the incredible interest in Hazel Trembath, we did end up deciding to provide that information early. But all three schools were approved as part of the original budget. Hazel Trembath was not added last minute. Thank you.
Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Thank you. As a follow-up, sorry, what was that? There was a third school that was mentioned. I was wondering if the minister could then tell me in all three of those jurisdictions what schools that were first in priority to be either built or upgraded were put lower on the priority list in exchange for replacing schools that were damaged by fire.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. So the loss of a school by fire is devastating to a community, and government made the decision that all of the fire-affected schools in the province would take precedent.
Hearing no further questions, I will now call vote 37. And shall the vote pass? Aye. Carried and so ordered. Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the committee rise and report resolution and completion and ask leave to sit again.
Members have heard the question. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. And we are waiting the arrival of the Speaker. Be a moment.
Committee Chair.
Mr. Speaker, Committee of Supply, Section B, reports resolution and completion of the estimates of the Ministry of Infrastructure and asks leave to sit again.
When shall the committee sit again, Government House Leader?
Next sitting, Speaker.
So ordered. Government House Leader?
I ask that the House to now adjourn.
Member, you heard the question to adjourn the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This House stands adjourned until 1:30 p.m. today.